What is going on, everyone? Welcome to episode 5 of the Yammie Noob podcast. Today, we are going to be talking some news of the illustrious Kawasaki ZX6R Recall.
Yeah, it's going to be good.
Logan, this is the zeitgeist right now.
Yeah, it's the big lime green elephant in the room,
yes,
if you will.
We just put out the video a few days ago as the time of this goes live, and we know it crushed it. We don't even have to question it. I know that video probably,
future, yeah.
hopefully, it has not been posted yet, not even edited yet, and I already have this strong belief. So lots to talk about there. Some news from Norton as well, going from expensive motorcycles to cheap motorcycles, doing the whole ironic round the trip world back to India, which we're going to talk about as well. A brand new Chinese contender in the marketplace too. Lots to talk about that. We then have our main segment of the podcast. We're going to be discussing our earliest motorcycle memories, talking about what made us want to get started riding, kind of our cool memories. Logan, I assume it was you on the back of a Harley just gazing off into the infinite sunset, right?
Yep, just me. You know, my chaps. No, I've got some good memories. I was thinking over the weekend, and I remembered some fun stuff, some kind of core memories. But we'll save it for later.
Cool. I'm excited to talk about that.
But it should be fun for sure.
And then, of course, we have the silly comments and questions. More silly comments, good questions. The questions are never silly. Questions are always good. So, yeah, let's get it started, shall we? The first bit of news, let's get the Band-Aid right off, the big green Band-Aid, the Kawasaki Recall.
Yeah.
I feel like we're early on this one. We're usually late, but we're early on this one, right?
We're really early, yeah. Like, I was working on the script for this. As it was unfolding, I was, like, refreshing the forums, and getting new
information. In real time.
Yeah, and new real time, because, all these, I don't know if they're in breach of some sort of employment contract, but all these OG Kawasaki dealers and service techs are getting these bulletins and then posting them on forums, which I don't know if you're supposed to do that. It did kind of create quite a bit of controversy, but since then, this was maybe almost a week ago that we first started the do not ride letters and things started coming out. But now, nearly a week later, it's an official recall. That was the big controversy at first, is it wasn't. No official recall had been issued.
Yeah.
Well, now it's official. Nearly 18,000 bikes. For 2 model years. That's got to be nearly every single one. Yeah, right.
That's bad. That's really bad. But I love how they started haha, guys, don't ride the bike. Haha, hey, just don't ride the bike. No issues. Just maybe don't ride it. And then it comes out that it's a bottom of the engine failure that can cause catastrophic damage if you were to ride it, because the whole thing would seize up, basically. Yeah. So if you have a ZX6 and you have not seen this news yet somehow, don't ride your ZX6. It could literally seize the motor, lock up the rear wheel, and we all know you're doing 186 miles on the highway.
That'd be a bad time, man.
Be a really bad time.
And
really, really bad news.
Yeah, and it's just funny. You think these tried and true platforms, right? That engine's been the same since 2018 or something.
Yeah, and even then the architecture's been the same since the mid 2000s.
Yeah, it's how often of all things that are being upgraded and improved on an engine, the connecting rod bearings are not one of them. That's kind of something that just it works and they use it. So again, this is new too, so I don't think it was in the video. But that's why I think it's cool we get to talk about it now on the podcast as more info has come out. But yeah, over torqued. That was the cause of the failure. Remember, boys, tight is tight, too tight is broke. So
100%. Yeah.
What an ironic. I mean, the whole thing is incredibly ironic. Proven platform, Japanese manufacturer, bottom end, usually not a major failure point, you would think, from being over torqued.
And you would also think that, the Japanese, we talked about this previous podcast, they're known for their precision, their metallurgy, their fabrication, their supply chains, all that stuff. This, to me, it's either there's a robot that was over torquing it must have been, or it was whoever assembles the bottom of it, was just heavy handed on the wrench. But I doubt it's a guy doing it. It's probably a robot, bzz, bzz, you know?
And some calibration got changed or some difference in because I'm sure it's pneumatic pressure for things like that. I would say. So
probably
maybe
some hydraulic robot arm that's just psh, psh, but this is it's very ironic that this happened to a Japanese motorcycle that is sort of lauded for its bulletproof characteristics.
Yeah, for sure.
People have often told me that I'm a moron for buying a 675 when the 636 exists.
Right.
But now I get to laugh in their faces, and it is now probably going to be a new meme about the motorcycle community, right? It's ZX6 recall, bottom end failure,
and because. Yeah, obviously, of course, the KTM camshaft thing was a massive meltdown. Granted, was far more conspiracy. in
Yeah,
that. There was, like, a
KTM shot
cover-up
themselves
thing, you know?
in the foot with that. Kawasaki did the right thing where
And
they're
just
like,
got ahead of it,
hey, we
yeah.
screwed this up. Just don't ride the bike.
But what's
We'll
gonna
fix
suck,
it.
dude? Yeah, like 24 and 25. So that's, you could have bought this bike 3 months ago, brand new, and then they're like, yeah, you can't ride it, and who knows how long it's gonna take to, because they got to split the case, figure out, they have to first send out the like repair kits for the techs, because I assume they're not just gonna put new engines in every single, like they have 18,000 engines lying around. You know what I mean?
That's so much money down the toilet.
But
if they have
either
to
way,
do that.
there's no
God.
easy fix. It's literally like worst case scenario.
Yeah,
for
it's
Kawasaki.
we talked about this pre-podcast where I was like, yeah, imagine if it was just like a cam chain tensioner or like a bolt on the head that's just like a little loose
And
or
it's like a
something.
weekend in the
that's
shop or a day in the shop,
no, bottom end stuff is like no matter what, you're in big trouble.
Yeah.
Like you gotta, like you said, because motorcycles, for those of you who may not know, the transmission and the engine are sort of meshed together in this way that to get to the bottom of the motor, you have to split the whole thing open and take the whole engine out. Like it's not an easy thing to do. And so, yeah, like either they're all going to spend all their time at the Kawasaki dealerships doing this, or I don't know. This sucks though for Kawasaki.
Yeah, like are they gonna offer like a buyback thing or something? Yeah, imagine you spent, especially you paid cash, dude.
Yeah, you like
paid cash
13, 14K for a brand new
out the
600.
door, and then literally you probably just hit the break-in period,
Dude.
and they're like
Nightmare
now
scenario.
beginning of riding season for some places.
There's got to be several hundred people out there right now that are dealing with this, and maybe a couple thousand where like they just bought the bike and now it's like, oops, it's a lemon basically.
Yeah, it's I would be so freaking bummed, man. But I mean, again, it's Kawasaki. Like they'll be right.
Yeah,
do what they can to make it right with their customers, but it's not going to be a brand new bike overnight. You know
I think it's great that Cowie didn't do the KTM thing, and they're like,
pretend it didn't
just
happen.
kidding, like you did something wrong, or like nothing's wrong with the bike, and then like people's motors are just seizing and locking up.
Yeah, so
I think that's where KTM got lucky, is like the camshafts were slowly eroding, so it was like
you just
not
like lose power.
You just lose power, or like you bring it in and you're like, what the hell? The camshaft is like a part missing, you know? This is like, hey, you could die riding this, you know?
Especially on a sport bike. Yeah, you're at excuse me, freaking 10,000 RPMs. It seizes up.
Bro, you keep going to 15 on those bad boys. You know what I'm saying? You got
15, 18, 22.
The numbers just keep going up. As your repair bill will also just keep going up.
And and then your engine locks, it would be terrifying. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So this is an important thing we wanted to say as a PSA. Because Kawasaki issued the do not ride order, please don't ride the bike, because if you do have an issue with it, and this is after they issued the do not ride, they may not honor the warranty on that. They may not actually have you bring in the bike. You may be on the hook for it. So as much as it stinks, again, like Logan said, if you just bought this bike, you want to go ride it, totally understand. Your best case is to just not ride this bike. Just keep it parked. Just wait until there's a fix for it, which again, God, that sucks.
Right.
That sucks.
That's why you always got to just have that Ninja 250 from Facebook Marketplace, like
ready to go.
Yeah, or just
$500
$500 ready to go, and be like, well, you got to ride something. Just buy the $500 Ninja 250.
But again, it's cosmically ironic because they bought the 636 ostensibly because they were like, I want something bulletproof, reliable. God, that
brutal.
sucks. Wouldn't happen to a Honda.
Wouldn't happen to a Honda.
I bet you Honda owners
when
now
this
are
happened,
like, it wouldn't happen to me, bro.
Like when this happened, and obviously I rode the Hornet 750, which is a brand new platform. I mean, brand new few years, right?
Ish. Yeah.
And I was like, ripping on it pretty hard out in California because it's like a press bike, a loaner bike. That's what they're there for. But then I was like thinking about my own bike, the Trans of that, and I was like, theoretically something could happen. It is like a newer kind of thing, but again, it's Honda. We always say it can never happen to me. But, but I think at this point it's proven that it's fine.
Yeah.
But the last thing I want to say about the Kawasaki thing before we move on, because we haven't really had a chance to discuss it. Totally, been working independently on the previous video. Is this the nail in the coffin for like the 600 class, right? Like the 636 was
right
for inline 4, 600 class motorcycles, 600 plus.
It's the last one, dude.
Yeah,
it's the last one.
And then now people are gonna be like afraid to buy 2026 or whatever, or
I mean, for me, I'm like, well, they're for sure not going to have that go wrong on the 26 model years. I mean, my thinking is kind of like whenever you like the people beta test an early product and then like second or third year into it, you're like, well, they for sure worked out all the kinks. I would feel comfortable buying a 26 because I know for damn sure the bottom end's going to work.
So it'll be the most reliable 636 there's ever been.
That's
like
very
the
true.
Model year post it. So
it might be like the old like Toyota Supras where they're like just way overbuilt for no reason. Like 26 model year ZX6s might be the most reliable motorcycle ever built.
Yeah,
honestly. Yeah.
But yeah, I just thought it was kind of funny that, and because I think that's the 636 has seen a little bit of an uptick recently. I mean, it's of course always been a popular platform, a revered platform, but in the wake of the kind of traditional 600s being less and less commonplace, the like 20-ish year old street squids, like it was like 636.
Yeah.
So
especially in the wake of the new like Panigale V2 or the R9, people are like, not my new super sports.
Right.
You know, I'll go back to the 636. Well, now you can't.
I know, it's just crazy time.
Now you got to go buy some Gixxer 600 that hasn't been updated since 2008,
Right.
you know, which I didn't realize it's been that long since the Gixxer 600 has not received any love at all other than bold new graphics. It's coming up on 20 years. I mean, how much longer is that bike even going to be sold?
Yeah,
Well, probably not at all,
now
you know?
it's certified vintage.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, it's almost like a heritage model.
It
You know
is,
what I mean?
yeah.
Which is kind of cool when you think about it.
It's
'cause-
funny. I know a couple buddies of mine who do vintage motorcycle racing, and some of those old 600s are now eligible for
Yeah,
vintage
which is
racing. And I'm like,
crazy.
well, you're just going to wipe up everybody
Yeah.
if you pull up with like a 2001 R6, you know,
Right.
like it's just funny. I think what's going to happen here is because Suzuki's coming out probably at the end of the year with some new generation super sport concept. They've been heavily hinting at it because, you know, it's so funny. People are comparing the GSX-R 750 to like the new bikes. I'm like, guys, really? That bike hasn't been updated in like 18 years. And then I think they won't sell the GSX-R 600 anymore. Honda's CBR 600 hasn't been updated in the US for forever. It got it updated in Europe.
Europe and Japan, it's like updated. I think with like an IMU and like
That's
stuff.
pretty cool. We
But
don't
it-
get that.
Yeah.
So
I mean, they also like neutered the American Hornet 1000.
I don't know
and
why
everything.
they think we can't handle.
I don't know why either.
It's weird.
Especially
It's
because
really
it's like
weird.
we got so much, you know, wide open spaces and stuff. Cue the Dixie Chicks, Josh. Cue the Dixie Chick song right now. Just kidding. It's one way to demonetize a podcast is
Very
play
true.
Dixie Chicks.
Very true. Yeah.
Um,
if you keep saying Dixie, YouTube's
That's
gonna
not even what I
YouTube's gonna
meant.
think you're saying
I
something
just meant
else. so-
copyright claimed music. But
yeah, go and follow our OnlyFans.
there you go.
There to really demonetize,
Yeah.
to send it home. Anything else we want to say about the Kawasaki recall, other than
No, just-
Kawasaki officially the least
I know, yeah,
reliable
but-
Japanese manufacturer, right?
Officially, you should have bought.
Sensationalism.
Should have bought an Aprilia. Should have brought a Ducati. Should have bought a BMW.
I said this in the full production video where I was like, as a European bike owner, primarily who's been just like poked fun at for all the, I'm like, oh man, should have bought a Ducati, you know, things I never thought I'd utter
Yeah.
To a Kawasaki owner. But let's move on to Norton, making some small bikes in India, shall we? So Norton, if those of you who don't know who are watching the podcast, is a very old British manufacturer of race bikes. They were super popular in the TT. They were very competitive motorcycles, kind of lost their way in the 70s and 80s, as did a lot of British motorcycles. And they've kind of had this like will they, won't they for the last like 20 years.
Yeah.
We've talked about their brand being revitalized. A few years back, they had the V4 concept, that shiny chrome thing, but it's never really taken off, right?
Yeah, and because they've had a couple different attempted comebacks, like in the '90s and 2000s. They had like the weird like rotary bike and
That's
stuff.
right.
And
That's right. Yeah. I
but
forgot
again, it
about
always
that.
seems like kind of misguided or overly ambitious. And then I think they had like a finance scandal or something. Didn't the guy that
Yes,
owned it?
they did. Yeah, they had it's funny because in Britain they call them like a scheme, but
Yeah.
that's not how we think of scheme here. But it ended up being an actual scheme. Where it was like
Yeah.
this pensioner thing where like they took a bunch of money and then they never put it in pension. I think they just embezzled all of it. So
Right.
that sucked.
yeah.
So financial crimes, very cool. But then TBS bought Norton.
Right.
Yeah.
And so TVS, one of the, you know, bigger Indian manufacturers, I guess they're the ones that were responsible for the G310
Yes.
GS or whatever, which isn't necessarily glowing.
A crime against humanity.
Yeah, like
just kidding. GF.
that's not like a glowing review of what TVS is capable of or
Yeah.
whatever, but
They're known for building like very utilitarian motorcycles in
it's like
India.
commuter bikes,
Yeah, commuter bikes.
and so Norton tried to do the kind of bespoke, ultra limited one-off flagship thing. I'm not sure if that's still in the cards, and then maybe this move is to then kind of just actually bring some money in. But yeah, I guess so they're partnering, or TVS owns Norton now, and yeah, they're making small displacement bikes, right? Like that's just kind of the move if you want to make money in the motorcycle business, is make super affordable bikes, and then that typically ends up being made in India. Obviously, Royal Enfield kind of set the precedent for that.
Oh, they've been doing that for decades,
For decades, and then that kind of toes the line between affordability and build quality. Like a lot of these Indian bikes are pretty darn good, and obviously
they've
new
gotten
Triumphs.
a lot better. And I think it's from a historical perspective, like very ironic that a lot of these British makes are now being made in India, and Indian people, from what I've seen, are very big into buying them because they have a upmarket premium feel to them, right? The Triumph is selling super well in India because it looks great and it looks like a real Triumph. No pun intended. And I think Norton's going to be a similar thing, or like there's something about that badging on the side of the tank that people are like, oh, cool. Like it's like, it's kind of upmarket. But yeah, like from a historical perspective, just like cosmically hilarious that these failed British companies now go to India to like have success, given the history between those two countries.
The whole thing. For like right now and probably for the next week, I have a lot of Royal Enfield information in my brain because I just wrote that script on like their 10-year turnaround.
Yeah.
In another week or so, I'll have forgot it all and it'll be replaced with some other like esoteric thing. But obviously their story is super interesting too. Like they had an Indian offshoot, even when it was Royal Enfield was a British company, and they made the bikes for the military. And then when the British company was like, okay, we don't want to do this anymore, the Indian offshoot was just like, all right, we'll just keep it going. And then they just became the Royal Enfield company. And then, but similarly, that's been a part of their success is that like kind of upmarket feel, that like historical charm, but with the accessibility and blah, blah, blah. And because Royal Enfield's done a bunch of cool stuff in terms of like big events and ride outs, and they sponsor music festivals and the racing programs and all this stuff. It's really like the benchmark for a successful Indian motorcycle company. And so it's no surprise that other people have adopted this or are attempting to adopt this strategy. Whether it will take for Norton, who the heck knows? I feel like next week's podcast, it could be Norton completely out of business. You just never know with those kind of companies. But
I think with Norton, if they do end up going back to the well with like the super expensive motorcycle thing, I just don't know who that bike is for. Know, like I remember that Norton V4, it was like $40-something thousand, and it just didn't perform the same way that other super bikes did. And it was cool that they made it, and I'm really proud of them for making it. That it's not an easy thing to make a super bike, but I was just like, anybody who really cared about Norton's unfortunately is dead. That was a very long time ago. Completely. That was like 60, 70 years ago. And I'm like, you can't play on that brand cachet after it's been so much time. I think Triumph timed it perfectly, where they did it in like the 80s and 90s, where it still had relevance. There's like, okay, we can rebuild it. I think it's too late for Norton. Honestly,
sure.
I just think it's too late.
Yeah, I mean, I have no concept. Like I know of like, their involvement in the TT and their kind of bizarre sport bikes that they tried to make and from doing this type of work.
I was going to say that's because you're like a motorcycle like scriptwriter, journalist, whatever you want to call yourself. You know what I mean?
But like if I was just a normal rider, I would probably know the name, but I wouldn't have any concept. It just doesn't really resonate. Yeah. And then for people, and I'm not even that young. I'm 22, but there are people like
nobody buys that.
There are people, but no, there are actual like 22-year-olds that they're not even like in like the age of like cultural nihilism or whatever. Like younger generations, like people in their 20s and teens right now, are like nostalgic for like nothing, like like they don't have these like
that is true
attachments to things. It's very much this just different way of thinking.
That's why they're so spiritually evolved. They have no attachments. Maybe. They are just like they've ascended to a higher plane of existence. I think it is funny. Like I was actually thinking about that. Small tangent. Stick with me here. Where young people don't have that attachment to things and nostalgic, and it feels like because there's no more like monoculture, it's like they could be nostalgic for anything and nothing at the same time. Like I think about a kid now who's like 15. I'm like, what? You're nostalgic for something from like 2012?
Right.
Like it all felt like so disposable culture at that time, and it kind of still does. And like I wonder where we're going with that, because there is no more like thing you can hold on to.
Right.
We were the last generation to have real memories, is what I'm saying.
Wait, you have memories?
Sure. No, that's true. Yeah.
Oh no, I'm gonna just prove that I have memories in our next segment. But
exactly. Yeah.
But so Norton, we'll see how this takes. But because even Honda is building an Indian factory too.
Are they really?
Yeah, because I think
they have one in Thailand. I know that, but
because that was a story I saw a week or two ago, and then I just didn't end up including it. But But yeah, I guess they sell so many damn bikes there that they're like probably just easier to make them here because they have that like GB 350 or something.
Yes,
that's just
it's basically a Royal Enfield.
Yeah, for sure.
Basically,
But-
yeah. But I mean, I've been saying it for a while. Like both Indian and Chinese bikes, which we're going to talk about next, are like that's that forefront, that coming wave that we're seeing.
for sure.
I think it's only a matter of time until we start seeing like Royal Enfield really in the intermediate category, maybe even a flagship bike in like 10 years or something. Like I don't know. But speaking of that, QJ Motors launches in the UK.
Motors.
So this is one that you're pretty bullish on. You are working on a video right now where you think QJ is like the next big player.
Yeah, I mean, for sure. You can tell they're not quite there yet. You look at, it's something we talk about in the script for the full production video that maybe comes out the week you're watching this.
2 weeks from now, yeah.
Or 2 weeks, but you look at their offering list now and like you squint and you're like, is that a Pan America? But then you're like, oh no, it's not. Like everything is still very much that kind of what you think of Chinese motorcycles, like that stolen IP and whatever. And because it's so, say BMW GSs from the smallest to the largest, they have their own design language. They look the same, or the Triumph Tigers, different displacements. They kind of, design language. QJ Motors has no design. Like even looking at their adventure bikes, one looks like a Tenere, one looks like a Pan America, one looks like a GS. It's just like so silly to me. But all that being said, I do think their build quality is getting there from what I can gather. And they have a ton of resources. Yeah, so they're owned by the Geely Group. Geely, who owns Volvo, Polestar. They own a portion of Mercedes. They own a portion of Lotus. Like they have a ton of obviously resources and engineering prowess and hopefully designers that can help like create something like that's unique and cohesive and special and doesn't just feel like a ripoff. But this sort of came on my radar because they're officially launching in the UK. So previous to this, you got the Benelli's. Benelli's obviously owned by QJ, and then Keyway, I think is another one that's sold in and around Europe.
Yeah, we don't get those here.
And those are kind of the smaller displacement like commuter bikes. Just your utilitarian donkeys essentially.
Yeah.
But so for the first time, the QJ brand bikes are being sold in UK, and it looks like they've whittled down their selections a little bit. Because like on their website, there's literally like 100 motorcycles from like 125 cc's up to like 1,000 or whatever.
Yeah, QJ's website also has some of the craziest like typos and things. Like they have some really crazy copy on their website. If you want to have some fun, go look at that.
For sure.
But to me, QJ Motors, you mentioned them kind of like they're like not quite there, kind of copycat. It feels a lot like CF Moto maybe like 7 years ago. We talked about this where I had forgotten that CF Moto was basically making like Kawasaki 650 clone engines.
Yeah, for sure.
And then just
not that long ago at all.
Not that long ago. And like putting them in like pretty crappy little adventure bike things and like no real design language, like kind of weird. And like in the span of like 5 years, all of a sudden they like have a very cohesive look. They have a very cohesive lineup. And you're like, wow, that happened really fast. Yeah, and it could happen to QJ.
And they're recognizable. Or they're
definitely recognizable.
And I think again that talking about sort of the youthful approach to things and the choices younger people are making, or like the value system of which they base their choices. Like people of our generation and older, it's very brand loyal, very like diehard. Like whether it's nostalgic or a family member had a bike or
I'll buy a Kawasaki even if it blows up.
Exactly,
like, I'll do it.
Where younger generation is just all about value. Who can provide the best product at the best value? And
they really are capitalist nihilists, huh? Like no brand loyalty, just the best bike for the lowest dollar.
I think
it
comes from a point of desperation almost too. Like
that's a fair point.
I
mean,
if choices,
that's a very fair point, right? Like if you're not making enough money, why do I care to spend 2x on a Harley Davidson?
Right.
Screw you. I'll buy a CF Moto.
And so I think QJ really has the potential to have an impact if they can kind of figure out some of the design stuff. and they're involved in like racing, you know, on both GP and World Superbike. Like they're in Moto 2 and Moto 3, I think, and then World Super Sport.
Yeah.
And
like, just as a quick aside to that, for those of you who may not know, their involvement in Moto 2 and Moto 3 doesn't mean that they're necessarily building a bike for those categories. And a lot of those categories, they use spec chassis, such as the Calax or the Bosco-Scuro chassis. And in Moto 3, it's usually Honda or KTM. But what they do is they reskin it and usually pay for like private teams or support teams, and they put the bike as their bike. Like, for example, like David Alonso, who was Moto 3 champion last year, who's kind of touted as being like the next big thing coming up. He was on a CF Moto bike, but it's not a CF Moto.
Right.
Just
it's like a marketing.
It's a marketing thing, yeah. But QJ actually does work in World Supersport with their own bike.
Yeah, for sure.
Right?
Yeah, and so that's actually one of the motorcycles that they're bringing to the UK, and that may potentially end up in the United States here in the scene. So that's the SRK 800 RR. So the SRK in general are their naked bikes. The SRK RRs or SRK R or RR are their
really
fully
racy,
faired, race bikes. So 778 cc inline 4.
Oh, inline 4.
I know. I mean,
don't silence the scream.
Don't silence the scream, man. But is that a direct play to utilize an inline 4 in the category that's rapidly moving away from that, or is it just hey, we know how to make these motors because Japanese companies have been doing it for 100 years, and we can just take that and do it the same thing?
I think it's a little bit of that. It's an oddball displacement, though, for sure. 778, you're like, wait, what? And it only makes 120 brake horsepower. I'm like, that's a bit weird.
Yeah, it is a little bit
very weird.
But something that's not weird.
That price is crazy, though. 7,000 pounds?
Yeah.
I mean, that's not much money for a lot of bike.
Like I said, they're gunning for CF Moto for sure.
Yeah.
But something that's not weird, you could say it almost makes perfect sense, is an adventure bike with a 645cc V-twin. Sound kind of familiar?
They're shameless, aren't they?
And it's called the SVT 650X. So they literally added one letter, and it looks pretty similar.
If I had just like 20 grand to blow for no reason to make one video, I would buy one of these and an SV650, tear them apart, and like try to figure out where they did what, because that's got to be the same SV motor. Right? It's got to be.
Completely, yeah.
It's got to be. It was the same with the Kawasaki Parallel Twin whenever the CF Moto was making it, you know?
Yeah, and I wouldn't be surprised if like literally, like if like QJ's literally just buying like Suzuki crate motors.
Yeah. Like
just in bulk and making it. But
the one I really wanted to talk about was the SRV 600V with a 561cc V4.
Yeah, talk about weird oddball displacement and an oddball engine configuration.
It's super oddball. We haven't seen a small displacement V4 since the 90s.
Right.
You know, like RVT from Honda or whatever. Like, right. I mean, that's a really weird one to make. I'm like, how are you guys making that work price-wise? Like, nobody's making a small displacement V4. There's no reason to. It's really weird.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me too of like, you know, Honda had like the Honda Magna and stuff
that's right. Yeah.
Kind of muscly cruiser.
Maybe they went that far back in the catalog.
I don't know because I don't know. Yeah, there was like a kind of middleweight Magna or whatever. But I think it's pretty funny.
Maybe there was a surplus of Magna engines that they just never sold, and they're like, we can dust these off and put them in there.
Yeah,
like,
sure.
It's very strange. Very, very strange.
But yeah, and the displacement where you have 561cc is kind of weird. Like if it was like a 650-ish something, like I'd be like, obviously a V4 and a kind of middle range cruiser is strange.
That's still
today's
weird.
Economy.
Yeah. The only V4s that make sense are big displacement, high powered, expensive, Exotica. Like it. Otherwise, I'm like, how are you making that work? You know?
Yeah, and because making 67 horsepower. I'm like, what bike would? It's just like so weird.
And it's a cruiser. It's not even like a naked bike. Like,
right.
It's very like strange.
Too small to be like a big stonking big boy cruiser, but too big to be like a beginner bike.
Yeah.
And kind of, but if you want like a middleweight intermediate bike, 67 is kind of underpowered because this thing's probably a little bit heavy too. It's just, it's very weird. Maybe it's like a global thing. I haven't done much motorcycling in China. I don't know about you. Maybe 561cc V4 cruisers are all the rage. I haven't been.
Me and John Cena are going to China, getting ice cream promotions.
Is he going to China?
Bing chilling. Do you know about this or no? No, John Cena is like almost fluent in Mandarin, and
cool.
he'll go in China and do like these promos There's the meme. You've never seen the meme of him with the
No.
ice cream, and it's like Bing
I've
chilling.
been back on Instagram for like 4 days.
This isn't an
gotta go
Instagram. This isn't an Instagram thing. This is like it's like a general meme. And yeah. So John Cena, he went to China. He did he gets paid a ton of money to go to China. They love him there apparently. And he basically speaks Mandarin. So the meme that kind of went around is he's in this limousine and he's doing this ad for like an ice cream company. And apparently in Chinese, ice cream is Bing chilling.
Okay,
and so
cool.
he's just like holding it. He's just like Bing chillin', and
Okay.
like people clip that and all. So it's for some reason like stuck in my brain throughout all these years. But I highly
I think
recommend
it's
you look
like-
at John Cena Bing chillin'.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's done whatever that kind of campaign thing has done what they set out to do. You think I say China, you
I think Bing chillin'.
Yeah.
100%.
So it
Yeah.
worked. An earworm, good old fashioned earworm.
Yes.
But anyway, so yeah, will these bikes come to the US? I think they say they're supposed to. I
Yeah.
think that's like kind of the next thing in terms of approvals from governments and licensing agencies and all that stuff. You got to go through, the Department of Transportation and the EPA and all that stuff. But
I mean, we've certainly seen a market for different displacements and different engine configurations. Like the ZX4RR, you'd be like, what the hell is that?
That's true, yeah.
Been reasonably
Yeah.
successful. The CF Moto 675 SS, the 3-cylinder, you're like, okay, like that's something. So maybe that's their play. They're like, if we give something different enough in the market, people will go and get it.
Yeah, for
Because I
sure.
guarantee you there's a lot of people just looking at specs and they'll look at that other one that's a 778cc inline 4. I'm like, oh my God, I gotta have it. Oh my God, it's amazing. I don't know. Again, maybe the 21-year-old kid who has no concept of what a Chinese company is or whatever, just goes and buys one. I
they
don't
don't
know.
teach that in school anymore.
They don't teach that anymore.
What China's. But yeah, and because I think part of the clear path they're sort of taking is utilizing those like existing kind of Benelli networks and
Yes.
dealers and stuff, and they'll just kind of include the QJ brand alongside those, and then we'll see. Yeah, maybe giveaway bike 2027. We're rocking SRK 800 RR.
I doubt it, but maybe.
never
If it
know.
has the most hype, I'll do it.
I know.
I'll do it. But Logan, let's move on to our earliest motorcycle memories.
Let's do it.
All right, Logan, earliest motorcycle memories. Before we get started, folks, if you're enjoying the show, head over to yammynoob.co and become a member. It's the best way to support the show. You get access to the Discord server and our awesome giveaway bikes as well. We currently have a Panigale V2S up for grabs, and it's kind of an open secret that the next bike is a Yamaha R9. Make sure you get entered to win and go and check it out. So, Logan, what would you say is your earliest motorcycle memory? What kind of like your primordial soup of two-wheeled fun?
So yeah, I don't know if I can trace back a single early memory. Like I kind of grew up around it. Like my grandpa had a motorcycle when I was very, very young, CB750
Nice.
Honda. And then it started kind of culminating into something that I was like truly aware of probably around the time I was like, 6, 7, when you start kind of developing your interests and your personalities and things. And I was like a big skateboard kid, always into skateboarding. And then, it's like peak X Games era in the early 2000s. And so if you're interested in skateboarding and you watch X Games, you're exposed to like motocross, freestyle motocross. I always thought was sick. I never really watched racing. Just not really a racing guy in any capacity, but freestyle stuff was super cool. Obviously, I remember Travis Pastrana's like double backflip, like immensely, like that's burned in my brain. But around that same time, my stepdad got a motorcycle, Honda Shadow, and then also around that time, I got my first dirt bike, which is like a a little two-stroke Honda.
That's sweet. How old are you when you got this?
That was like, I think it was like 9 or 8 or
Nice.
something. Completely out of my depth. Like I remember like like it's like straight like it would be on some like fail. It'd be on like ridiculousness or something. I like
Yeah.
distinctly remember like accidentally dumping the clutch because it
It had a clutch
yeah,
too?
because now,
Wow.
dude, it was old, man. It was an old two-stroke. Now, of course, you can get like semi-automatic pit bikes and
Yeah.
just kick up and down. No, I had a clutch, and I remember just like dumped the clutch on accident, straight at wheelies, and like my feet are like not on the pegs anymore. Like it's completely.
It must
ridiculous.
have been like a KX85 or something. Like
It was
a little
CR60.
Oh, it was a CR60.
Yeah.
Okay.
Almost
But those
positive.
two-stroke, they can bite
Yeah,
though.
dude,
They're
a
not.
60cc
Yeah,
two-stroke for a
they're
child,
They're
yeah.
pretty spicy. Yeah,
And,
you probably weighed like 60 pounds at the
yeah.
time, or whatever.
And I would take it to my cousin. My aunt and uncle and cousins lived on like a private road out in the country in rural Michigan. So private road, like, you can do whatever the hell you want on it.
Yeah.
And my cousin had a dirt bike and he's a little bit older than me, so we just kind of do laps like down this like private road around the cul-de-sac and back up, and it's a ton of fun. I ate so many times, like but that was really fun. And then another distinct memory is I was riding on the back of my stepdad's bike, and I got off on the right hand side like a idiot. Like why? Like
you just dropped it?
No, I didn't drop it. I burned the shit out of my leg.
Oh, ouch.
And like why? I have no idea why I thought that was a good idea to get off on the like opposite side, but it was probably like a 2nd degree burn or something. Like the skin like peeled off. It was pretty brutal.
Ouch. So this career of mini dirt bike, it was fraught with chaos and crashing and just goofing around. How long did that last? Like a year or two at most.
Yeah,
right?
a year or two at most. And then I ended
sure
up
your parents were like, this
selling
kid's gonna kill himself.
I mean, it wasn't even a matter of
Did you say you ended up selling it? You like listed it up?
No,
like a 10-year-old?
No, I mean I allowed it. Like we sold it to like a family friend.
Oh,
or
okay,
something.
Got it.
But yeah, I didn't have it.
I don't know why I imagined you just like smoking cigs as a 10-year-old, like trying to sell a dirt bike, you know? But yeah.
Entertaining offers, starting a bidding war.
Yeah.
And just like another memory that just came to my head, because like I said, I'm from rural Michigan. I have an affinity for like a bit of recklessness. Like I remember like my grandpa driving it or riding it with like maybe my younger siblings that were like probably like 5 or 4 or something, like sitting like.
He was on it too?
Yeah, he was on it, and they were like sitting in front of him, like on his lap with their hands like on the bars, and he was driving.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and like that was really cool. And then I had some friends that had, different like pit bikes and stuff that we'd ride when we were teenagers, on like little jumps that in their houses or in their properties and stuff. But then when I was older, and I started thinking about what wanted my life to look like as an adult or something, like I think it was like 14 or 15, and I was seeing a hardcore show that my friend's band was playing in at like a VFW hall or whatever. And I remember this like the vocalist of like this like straight edge hardcore band is probably like 25 or something, like pulls up on a Harley Davidson in like shorts and like Nike like Forces.
Coolest thing you ever seen.
And like short and like a little brain bucket helmet and like covered in tattoos, hands tattooed and stuff. Like literally just pulls up, parks it on the sidewalk, like walks in, plays his set, and then just like gets on it and like left. And I was like, dude, this is kind of like the coolest thing ever. And this like really superficial, like, teenage brain move. But yeah, so I think those are some of the earliest things. Yeah, it started with like a kind of a love of dirt bikes, and then being like, I'm never going to be talented enough to do that.
Yeah.
So
it's funny how like when you have no concept of motorcycling and you just see somebody riding one, it's like the coolest thing you've ever seen in your life.
Yeah.
I have lots of early memories, but one that I just remembered also involved a Honda Shadow, funny enough, because I remember it set it on the side of the tank. My dad and I pulled up to a Blockbuster. That really dates this story. I was really young. I was just a kid, and I was in the back seat of the car, and he went in to just go do something and come right back out. Car still running or whatever. My dad didn't hotbox me in the car and kill me. And so I'm looking out the window. I'm just like staring at, because like back then, if you can believe it, we didn't have iPads and screens. So I was just looking out the window because I'm bored. Raw dog in reality. I'm just looking out the window. As a side note, do you remember being a kid and on the windshield or on the car window, you'd see like the raindrops like just flowing, just like make them race each other. Like that's the kind of shit we had to do back in the day.
That was the proto version of watching like the Temple Runner while also watching a podcast.
Exactly.
Clip.
Yeah,
it's
that
like
was our version.
Before that,
of it.
you had to just watch raindrops race on the window. Yeah.
Yep, that's all we had back then. It's probably how people feel whenever they're like, I had a hoop and a stick, and that's it. They're like, okay, Grandpa. So, anyways, I'm sitting in the back seat, and I see this guy pull up. He's on a Honda Shadow, and it's just like rumbling. It just like pulls up. I was just like, that is the coolest thing I've ever seen in my life. Now I see a Honda Shadow, I'm like, guy couldn't afford a Harley or whatever, kind of whatever your perception is. But when you're a kid, you're like, that is the coolest thing ever.
Yeah.
I also have a very distinct memory of, and this was when I was a little older, I already knew I wanted motorcycles. I think I figured out I wanted a bike by the time I was like 13 or 14. And I was starting to watch like MotoGP and just like, I was aware of racing. I wasn't like a diehard fan, but I was aware of Valentino and like I was watching racing, like very tangentially. Cars were more accessible to me at the time because my dad was like, if you get a bike, you can't live at the house. I was like, okay, I'm I can't get a bike and go find an apartment on like $7 an hour or whatever. I did the math. I was like, it's not going to work. I was like, I literally ran the numbers on a spreadsheet and I was like, it's not going to work. So anyways, I was driving to a buddy of mine's house. This was like in the late afternoon. And I remember this dude pulled up on a yellow Honda CBR. It must have been 1,000 because maybe it was a 600. It was like, because it was like the fastest thing I'd ever seen in my life. We pull off from this red light and I was like, is he going to go? And like I was like flooring my car, and he like didn't even know I was like flooring it. Right? He's like kind of looks over. He's like, "Oh, I think this guy's like trying to go or whatever." And I just remember he just like whacked the throttle, just like cracks a massive wheelie, and just like rides away. And I was like, "That is the coolest thing I've ever seen in my life."
Chad,
absolute Chad move. Yeah, he just like like this, and just set it down and just kept going. Never even looked back to see where I was. He's like, "I don't care." And so all these memories are just like forming, and I just knew I wanted one at some point. And sport bikes were definitely the ones that I was more aware of, you know? But funny enough, like that Honda Shadow, I was like a really little kid. And I also remember one of my cousin's like boyfriends at the time had a Harley Davidson. It was a Sportster. And I got the chance to ride on the back of it around the neighborhood. And I thought it was like the coolest thing ever. And I remember my mom like being like, that guy's such a dirtbag. He's a scumbag. Like there's definitely a thread that I remember. I think between that and like the Terminator movies too, like something about like the kind of cruiser guy. I was like, those guys are dirtbags, but they're kind of cool, you know? Like I want to be one someday, you know?
And I think it's interesting too. Yeah, your dad, you know, was apprehensive, or not even apprehensive, but disallowed you to have a motorcycle. And where my family was always, and maybe we're just a family of Midwestern degens or something, but they were always cool. My mom has always been super supportive of it. You know, when we're collecting questions for the Q&A and stuff, you always get the how do I convince my mom or and also if you have to convince your mom to let you do something, like you're probably too young to be riding a motorcycle. Of course there's if you're living under my house, my rules, sort of, I get that, but my family's always really supportive of it. And actually, shout out my brother Jack, he passed MSF this weekend.
He
was always
nice.
He's been riding dirt bikes and trail bikes the past couple years, but he finally took the MSF, which is cool.
That's cool.
But and it was like my cousin who helped me like buy my first bike and teach me.
But see, that's the
stuff.
thing is, it seems like in your family there was already like motorcycles imbued in it. Like nobody in my family rode. My dad did when he was younger, and then he had an accident, and then he was like, "These things suck. Like nobody should ride them." Which maybe I should have done the same thing, but I'm like much dumber than my dad was, so I just kept riding.
Brazilians are like crazy motorcyclists, right?
It's like,
so like, you think that was part of it? Like was his perception of it?
I think so. And like, like bike culture in Brazil is like flip flops, like 12 o'clock in like a BMW GS when you're like 10 years old, you know? Like if you guys have never had, like, I'm sure you have, but like just like on Instagram or like YouTube, just like look up like Brazilian stunt riders, like just these, like, it's literally like 10-year-old kids wearing flip-flops, like literally 12 o'clock in a BMW GS. It makes no sense. And then everyone's like, well, the bike is stolen. That's why. So it's a lot of funny stuff like that. But maybe it was like in Brazil, you know, it's like, it just like traffic is crazy and the bike culture is crazy. My dad was probably like, man, like nobody should do this, you know? And nobody in our family rode, like literally nobody. I'm the only motorcyclist in my entire family, pretty much. My wife's dad, my father-in-law, technically, he like rode a little bit, but that's it. And like he's one of those guys that like he has a lot of hobbies, you know. And it was funny because like he had like a couple of dirt bikes, and I remember I visited him in Michigan, and I was like, hey, like you gotta maintain these things because, you know, like
just leaving gas in them. And
he just like he had the original tires from when he bought it from like 2009. And he was like, you want to go for a ride? I was like, these are like 15-year-old tires, bro. Like, I don't know, right? And I'd get out there, they have no grip whatsoever. So I remember telling him, I was like, dude, you got to like maintain these. He's like, oh yeah, sure. But he has a lot going on. And like, you know, busy guy. And then I come to find out, this was like 2 years ago, they were out riding in the trails and his throttle got stuck. And he was riding and like his throttle got stuck because he didn't lubricate it. And then he like ran into a tree and got hurt. And he's like, I never want to ride again. I was like, but you're not maintaining the bikes. Like, it wasn't the bike's fault. I kind of have this thing where I'm like, anytime I hear somebody have like a thing with the bike, I'm like, well, what did you do? You know, I feel a little judgmental, but I'm like, probably wasn't the bike, you know? But yeah, everybody in my family all thought they were super dangerous. And I was always just dumb enough to be like, I want to try them, you know, like they sound fun. One more story about that, you know, speaking of like when I kind of did the math and I was like, I can't buy a bike and go live in an apartment. I remember like looking at how cheap bikes were and how much you could get for the money. I was like, this is amazing. You know, I was like, cars are a scam. These are so expensive. It's like, I can get a bike that can go twice as fast for a third of the price,
Yeah,
you know,
for sure.
or like a really nice bike for way less than a car.
Mm-hmm.
So that was always in my mind too, where I was like, if I want to have fun, a bike's probably going to be the way to do it.
Yeah,
you know?
for sure. Yeah, it's cars are a scam.
Cars are a total scam.
And if
you,
you're
if you
a car
want to talk
guy-
about that for like 5 minutes, I definitely can.
I
'Cause
mean-
they're such a scam.
If you're a car guy watching this, like a car and motorcycle guy,
Give it up.
I'm sorry if this offends you, but yeah, cars are a scam, dude. They're so expensive.
You're basically required to have one, which I think is the scam part of it, right? Like, in order for you to have personal mobility in this society that we live in, you need a car. It needs to be registered, insured. Insurance on cars is a fucking scam too, right? And they're so heinously expensive.
Yeah.
You know, it's a scam.
And yeah, like being a car enthusiast, like I think I like things that are cool and unique, and like I can appreciate like I don't think all cars are dumb, but like if you're being an enthusiast, I think being a car enthusiast in terms of a collector or a builder, a customizer,
Sure.
it just feels like a losing battle. Like it's so much space and time and expense, and like what, you're gonna buy a lift?
Yeah.
Kidding me?
Whereas a bike, it's like,
Yeah, get a couple
Rear
of
stand.
stands. Yeah,
that's it.
Yeah,
It gets
that's
you 80%. If you really want to go extra, get a bike lift. A couple $100.
Yeah,
You know,
a
that's
Harbor
it.
Freight tool set and a torque wrench,
Yeah.
and you tear it down to the frame if you wanted.
Yeah, and like car guys are always like, "Oh, the feel of the steering wheel and this." I'm like, every bike feels more direct than any car. They're all way more fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, total scam. I feel like car guys are just like bike guys who haven't figured it out yet.
Sure.
Honestly, like, and the only downside is like, oh, they're more dangerous. I'm like,
Yeah,
yeah, what
for
are you,
sure.
fucking pussy? Like, just just get the fucking bike. Like,
Yeah, 'cause
whatever, you know.
I have had a couple like known people that are car guys, and then they get motorcycles, and then they kind of don't. They approach it more like driving a car, where like you don't have to have as much skill. Again, no offense.
Yeah.
And then they think their concept of like speed will be skewed or something. It's like, okay, just because you have like a kind of fast like fucking STI or something, or
That's-
not even just a
No.
WRX, not even an STI. And then you're like, okay, I need a leader bike then because I'm used to going fast. I might 380 horsepower.
That's like a beginner bike.
Yeah,
You know,
completely.
like people really don't
like
get
power
that.
to weight ratio on a beginner bike is going to be faster
Than a
for the most
WRX
part,
or
than like a WRX or some sort of pedestrian
Yeah.
enthusiast car.
Yeah.
And then they get a way too powerful bike, eat themselves, crash,
Yeah.
get scared, and then go back to cars.
I
That's what I've
love the car guys that are like, I can't get one of those, man. I'd go crazy. I'm
yeah.
crazy, bro. Like, I'd kill myself on one of those. It's like, yeah, you probably would because you're a moron. Like, not because you're so crazy. Like,
Right.
well, you're so wild, dude. And then they get on and they're like poodling the throttle,
Yeah.
and I'm like, dude, you're not gonna jump on a leader bike with zero experience, just like cracking and wheeling it. Like, I'm so crazy, dude. You'll
Yeah, it's
shit your
like-
pants like that.
Yeah, the people, because I totally know what you're saying. I've had that conversation a handful of times.
I hate
where it's
that
like,
conversation,
For the
dude.
most part, that's actually like the worst outcome to telling someone you ride motorcycles.
I 100%
The
agree. 100%.
second worst outcome is they have just no interest, and and then I'm like embarrassed I even mentioned it. Obviously, the best outcome is it's another normal rider. You have
Yeah.
a nice conversation. But the worst outcome is the weirdo that's like, where it's like, yeah, you're not like you're not
Some wild man.
You're not some wild,
Yeah.
adrenaline junkie freak. Like, you're just mentally ill. Like, dude, like that's the problem. Like, but yeah, I totally know that. They're like,
Yeah.
"Oh, I don't trust myself. You know,
I
what
don't
mean?
trust myself. And I'm like, why?
Right.
That's weird.
Right? It's
could
like, are you on a list somewhere or something? You know what I mean?
I think maybe the third worst or second worst outcome, in my opinion, is you mention it, then someone said, "Yeah, a buddy of mine lost his arm
yeah.
doing that. You
Yeah,
know,
that one
those are
sucks, too.
crazy, man. Like, man, those bikes are nuts. Like, oh, my cousin died. I'm like, okay, like I
Yeah.
don't care.
Have you
at
seen
all.
the Iron Claw? That
The
wrestling
Iron
movie?
Claw?
Yeah.
No.
It's really good. It's based on a true family.
Oh, is that with
wrestling-
Zac Efron?
Yeah.
I have seen that. Yeah.
And where the Jeremy Allen White
Yeah.
loses, that like really bummed me out. I mean,
Yeah.
the whole movie bummed me out. It's, like, super sad.
that scene was crazy
because
because
he was like hammered, drunk,
he just
and,
went
like,
out
pissed.
hammered drunk. Yeah, and I'm like, of course,
Don't
you
ride
lost your leg.
pissed. Don't ride drunk. He did both
Yeah.
of them. Lost a leg.
So those are some of our earliest motorcycle memories.
Yeah,
I think
and a
we've-
little rambling.
a little rambling at the end of it. I
Never
feel
hurt
like that
nobody.
could be a whole separate thing. It's like things we hear as motorcycle riders.
Yeah,
you know,
for
it's
sure.
like
No, I'd like to do some like man on the street, you know, not asking people their body count, but like go down. Oh, dude, I'll go down to Dirty Six like at like midnight on like a Saturday with
Man,
like a stupid little mic and ask drunk people like questions about motorcycles and see what they get.
Yeah, you'll probably
And go
get like,
viral.
have you ever seen the Channel 5 video where he goes to Sturgis?
Yeah. Oh,
And it's
yeah.
just like that guy that's like, blah, blah, blah,
yeah,
blah.
yeah.
That'll be the exact same vibe as 6th Street at midnight.
Yeah.
If you value your life, I wouldn't do that if I were
Nah, I
you.
wouldn't do it.
Yeah.
But or even just going, some like undercover stuff, going to different bike nights and stuff, and just like talking to people and kind of catching a vibe of
Yeah.
like what's it actually like? What are people actually saying?
Hit him
you
with the
know?
name 10 books.
Wait, what is that?
You hit him with that. You know, you go to a bike meet, ask him like name 10 books. You know, we're trying to ascertain if motorcycles
name 10
name 10 bikes right now.
Name 10 tire models.
Wow, I don't think I could do that.
I can do that.
Yeah.
But
we're just brain dead motorcyclist.
All right,
Well, let's move
moving
on to the comments and questions, shall
let's
we?
do it.
All right, producer Logan, comments and questions for the week. Let's start off with the comments, shall
All right,
we?
let's do
Because
the
there's some
comments.
that are just really good. I'll read this first one. This user said, but drum brakes are, in fact, fine. I learned to ride on bikes with front drums, and they never had a problem doing stoppies. Do they fade? Absolutely. But why the heck are you doing long stretches of braking? Your engine should be doing most of your speed control. So much in this one,
I know,
right?
it's-
So much in this one.
I love the comments that just keep on giving. You
They
know
keep
what I
on
mean?
giving. So where do you want to start this one off? The fact that he's like simping for drum brakes. So he's like, those are fine.
Yeah, I mean, just
I didn't think this person existed.
yeah, right off the bat, simping for drum brakes is really strange because why do? And it was probably the most like minute thing. We probably were saying like, oh yeah, you can still buy like a T-Dub 200 or whatever, a T-Dub 200.
Yeah.
But
But it's got drums in the rear.
and then we said, but it has a drum, and then
Because
that,
it has a disc in the front
Yeah.
still, which is amazing. But
and so they probably like latched onto that, and then had their mind was flooded with fond memories of them. Like I imagine it's like a flashback, like in a movie, and they're like this guy and like an old Honda CB from like the 60s or something. Because even the CB 750 had discs in the front.
Yeah.
I can't even think of a model of motorcycle that has a drum in the front. That was probably 1960s era stuff.
I know. I mean, I can't think of one.
But
And I can't think of one that would easily do a stoppie that has the
No.
right, like, what you did on this old Sportster? Did those have drums?
they maybe
in
had
the
drums. You
front?
definitely can do a stoppie on a Sportster. They
Maybe
weigh like
you
600
can.
pounds.
This guy's just a better rider than us,
But so I imagine we triggered him about the drum brakes thing, and then he had like memories of him like frolicking through like a field with like an old bike from the 60s,
Yeah.
and it's playing like Simon and Garfunkel or
Yeah.
something. And so
playing
so
bookends.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So simping for drum brakes is very strange.
That's a rare one. I mean, most, like you said, the CB750 shipped with discs.
Yeah.
Like, this is not new technology.
Yeah.
This is something that we're all like, yeah, those are better.
Yeah,
You know,
and then
like-
just the bold-faced lie of doing stop. That's like it's like the kid with like the transition glasses in middle school that just like lies about everything for no reason.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He's like,
Yeah, he's like, my dad's a professional wrestler. And you're like, I don't think
Exactly.
that's true. And he's like, no, it is. You're like, I don't think so.
exactly. It's like
Yeah.
kind of giving that energy where you're just like, that didn't happen. That's not real. Why are you lying about this for no reason?
Yeah. And then he also says his concept that he's like, why are you doing long stretches of braking? Your engine should be doing most of your speed control. So, I mean, it's like, first of all, no, right? Like
Right.
your engine should not be doing speed control. And second of all, like long stretches of braking, it's like, oh, riding safely, like
Yeah.
being on the brakes and like making sure that I'm coming to a
Right.
complete stop with like enough distance, riding like a normal person.
Right.
I don't know.
And also it's like, kind of like ABS, like
Yeah.
a drum brake might slow your bike down, but in the times you really need to slow down in order to not
Yeah.
hit something or be hit by something, you probably want better brakes.
Yeah. And brakes aren't even one of those things where like, some people are like, oh, carbs are cool because I can like keep them,
Right, right.
maintained easier and I know what's going on. The drum brakes just suck.
Yeah.
And like you ride them with the disc, you're like, oh, these literally, they do the exact same thing. You pull the lever and it stops, right? One just does it better than the other.
Yeah, and it's not like they're any more complicated. And if anything, drum brakes are more complicated.
more complicated,
to
in
like
my opinion.
change the shoes or whatever they're called.
Yeah.
They're not even pads,
Discs
they're
are,
shoes.
I mean, the
What's
discs are,
that
yeah, they're
crap?
just, whatever. Yeah. Like this guy's crazy. So drum brake simping is wild.
And what's funny, if he's like a drum brake simp, he's probably like wrote this on a typewriter and then like mailed it to his like granddaughter and said, "Can you upload this to this YouTube account for me?"
She's like, I really wish you wouldn't do this. He's
Yeah.
like, they need to know.
Yeah.
I'd love for you to read the second one,
Sure.
Logan.
Okay, so this is a good one. I don't know. The two guys that look like the lonely rejects that end up going home together from the gay bar because literally no one else would pick them probably don't have any real room to call anyone a dork.
So we love casual homophobia.
Yeah.
When you don't know what else to say for someone, just call them gay. Works every time.
Yeah, but the thing, it's like, if at least make it funny. Like this isn't
not even funny.
This isn't even a joke. Like there's no punchline. It's just.
And
it's
it
just
also, if I may
comment.
pick a bone, it's nonsensical because if we were lonely rejects, but we went home together,
Yeah.
we successfully went to the gay bar, right?
Yeah, that's mission accomplished.
Mission
So-
accomplished. I guess he's saying that like we hung out the whole night at the bar, and then we're like, guess there's
Yeah, like
nobody
bars
else,
closing,
and then
yeah,
we
maybe.
went home together. But I still would like to say that's a successful
Yeah,
night.
there's still like serendipity there.
There's nothing
you know?
wrong with that, I think if you went to the gay bar and you had a nice night, and at the end of the night you and another buddy, liked each other and you went home, that's a good
Went
night.
home, watched some football.
Yeah, watch some some hockey.
All the gay guys I know love football.
I can see why. Like
Also, I
guys,
love football. Maybe I am gay.
Maybe you are. There's nothing
Maybe I
wrong
am.
with that.
There's nothing wrong with that. I think it's cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, those comments are always funny because, of course, this is from the Honda video where we called and people will not let it go. They keep coming and people are pissed. And I'm like, if you watch the video, it's very endearing. There's a lot of funny things.
Towards the end, you realize that it's tongue in cheek and we're having fun.
Yeah.
But that one I think just really. I mean, obviously, this guy was triggered because of something we said in the video.
Yeah, because
Which
of our gayness.
I'll never understand how somebody could get so upset if you say something about their bike like that.
Right.
I don't care. If someone were to call the Touareg gay, I'd be like,
Yeah.
it doesn't matter to me. I don't know. People get really upset about when you call their bikes dorky or something. But
Right.
I guess in his mind, it's better to be a dork than to be gay. And I
There you go.
don't know if that's true, but
I missed
funny
that
either
episode
way.
of Arthur where they teach you that.
That's funny. Well, speaking of gay, we have this next
yeah, there's
comment
another one.
says,
That
I
is
have
the
to
same
have the
guy.
inline four sound. Anything else sounds gay.
Yeah.
Do you think that this is, I've kind of seen this theory bandied around a little bit that like post Trump's election in 24, people are like, I'm going to start calling things gay again,
Yeah.
or the R word, or,
Right.
like all that sort of thing. And I have seen people deploying it more than usual. Do you agree? Like, it kind of feels like the seal was broken and people are like, we can say it now.
Yeah, I mean, we're definitely in the like anti-woke, anti-PC
Yeah.
era again. But unlike in like the early 2000s, that was like an anti-PC thing. Like that was still funny, like Dave
Yeah.
Chappelle and stuff. Like these are just saying something sounds gay. Again, it's not a joke. Like
just not
it's just a
funny, yeah.
weird thing to say. Like make it sound fun, make it funny.
Yeah, I agree. Like, and I have gay friends and stuff, and it's like, if you make a gay joke that's funny, that's good. It
Yeah,
works.
yeah.
But just simply calling something gay is like, that's not funny.
Because there's so many things you can make sensitive subjects and things you can make jokes about. Again, like people have been doing it forever. Very successful comedians and writers that have made people, thousands and millions of people laugh. Just saying something sounds gay to say it sucks is not a joke, and it's not funny, and it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, let's dissect that a little bit. He has to have an inline four sound. Okay, he believes that's like the proper motorcycle sound.
Mm-hmm.
Any other sound is gay.
Yeah.
It's like, okay.
So
He just probably doesn't like the sound. Like, yeah, it's just, yeah.
and I will say, like, I noticed it on somebody commented on your Touareg on track video, and they said it's like a cow.
Yeah, which I
And
thought
now-
was funny.
It is funny, and now I can't unhear that.
Yeah.
And even like when
I
was,
wrote it in this morning and I thought that. I was
Yeah.
like, it does sound like
it's
a
like
cow.
you would go by like a wall or something, or like under a bridge.
Yeah.
Because I noticed it too on riding the CB750 Hornet in Sacramento. That one with the stock, because I pulled like the
Sort of cow-like.
Yeah, it does sound cow-like. Like the parallel at certain RPMs, like those 270s, because I think too the Panigale sounds a little bit like a cow too. At certain like
It
at
sounds a
low
little,
R-
it's
like if you're-
different. It's a little different.
It's definitely
Yeah.
different, but like if you maintain, and again, you probably shouldn't be riding a bike like this like that. But I've noticed if you like maintain like a lower RPM, like if
Yeah.
you hold it at like 3,000 RPMs, that's when you get like the moo sound. But yeah, so the gay thing is ridiculous. This is just another inline four army guy.
That's a whole genre of motorcyclist, like inline
Yeah.
four army guy, or just like like army squid,
Yeah.
Yeah,
Live by the inline four, die by the inline four.
yeah.
But yeah, short and sweet comment. By sweet, I mean stupid, and you're a jerk with bad taste.
But I
No, I'm
also
just kidding.
think that there's perhaps a sort of closeted element to inline four guys, like the Jixer squid thing and them being gay. Like that's been like a whole like meme for like decades now. I don't know. Maybe wearing a bunch of leather and wanting to talk to a bunch of dudes, that sounds kind of gay to me, you know. But again, nothing wrong with it.
Yeah, like the guy. Comment down below if you're familiar with this. I guess I talked about it last week. There's like in our track days, I've heard that there's like a leather fetishist has like invaded r/track days on Reddit, and is like will comment like, "Oh, cool pick. What suit is that?" And then they'll say, "Oh, it's a Alpine Stars, whatever. I don't know tracksuits, but and they'll be like, "Oh, what size? I'm shopping for a new one. What size do you wear? Can you send me a picture of you wearing whatever?" I guess that's a thing. He's like a known person on there. If I was
really
fed
funny.
a blatant lie just for a good podcast bit, maybe that is true, but I think it's real.
Yeah,
Which is
I think it is real. That definitely seems
it's
correct.
kind of, and he probably rides an inline four.
Yeah. Well, let's read the next comment.
Yeah, go for it.
This person says, he doesn't get it. If you own a Kawasaki Z650, from the waist down, you become the motorcycle. Your legs become the wheels. Your butt melts into the seat. Your arms bionically connect to the handlebars. It has more than enough power and speed to have you arrested on any road in any country in the world apart from Germany. Yet it will do slow 5 km/h maneuvers with ease. The bike, with a few tweaks here and there, will get you 70 brake horsepower and 220 kph and will stop on a dime. And you don't need to spend a fortune to give you the same thrills as a 120 horsepower beast that will bust a ball bag paying for. You don't just sit in a Kawasaki Z650, you become the Kawasaki Z650 with a laughing emoji. Is he serious or not? Is the question.
I don't really know, but I think even just picturing like a kind of Z650, like Minotaur or whatever. What's that mythical creature?
An Animorph almost. Like
like an
imagine
Animorph,
like the front cover of like an Animorphs book, and he's just like becoming the Z650.
Yeah. So even just that visual is really, really funny to me. I thought that was so funny. Waxing poetic about a Z650 in the first place is funny. Kind of an L move, not gonna lie.
I don't know. Sometimes I want to be kind of mean to those people, and I'm like, I don't know, you're just simping about this bike because you couldn't afford anything cooler or better. Like, if you had, like, I don't think there's many people who, given the chance to like buy a Z650 or like even a Z900, would go, like, why would they do the Z900 or the Z650 rather? I guess both of them, in my opinion. But it's like, I don't know, it's like, just be honest with yourselves. Like, if you have that bike, like, it's clearly an intermediate or like entry level machine. It's not designed to be like amazing or great. Like, it's just not. Like, even Kawasaki would probably be like, yeah, it's like a fine bike, you know? Like, it's not supposed to be amazing. It's okay if it's not amazing. It's not some Ducati super bike. It's not some amazing adventure bike. It's just kind of this middle-of-the-road little thing. But yeah, his description of this, it makes me think of, like, a late 90s, like, straight-to-DVD movie where, like, he swings a leg over the bike, and then it's, like, a cheesy montage, like a D&B track or a breakbeat track, and he's, like, becoming the bike, you know? If we had more budget for CGI, we would definitely do this bit.
Yeah, and it's like, it's nighttime. He's going through the city streets, and then you're, as the viewer, you're like, wait, is he actually becoming the bike, or is this like a metaphor of that he's one with the machine, whatever?
Kind of like a Yamaha MT bike teaser that they make, like those crazy like Dark Side of Japan
like
things, where like
cyberpunk.
It cuts to like the mask and it's like bleeding black or whatever, and then like it turns into the bike, and it's just like, what is this? But yeah, this guy became the bike, which is great.
It's really funny. It kind of sounds like you're like a high school English class or something, and like you have to write. It's like you have like a writing project, and they're like, okay, just for 5 minutes, just write whatever comes to your mind, like to get like the mind moving,
get the juices flowing. Yeah,
like just write whatever comes to your mind. Like, this is what the person.
Unfortunately, this is what they wrote. But what I do like is that this person. And no, it is one giant run-on sentence. I was hoping that there was like punctuation and stuff. There is, but it's all commas. Because I saw that there's like capital letters, and like I was like, okay, maybe they didn't write it correctly.
No, I mean, it's postmodern.
It is postmodern for sure. Speaking of which, read us the next comment.
Great video, but Birkenstocks getting a bit lazy. What's next? Pajamas?
So this one is very funny, and I know which one this is referencing. Is that day that we were filming the Ducati video, and I forgot to bring like my other shoes, and I just had the Birks, and I was like, and I even asked you, I was like, should I wear the Birks? You were like, yeah, just wear them, whatever. I was like, yeah, it doesn't matter. It's kind of funny. I knew somebody would say something.
Yeah.
I knew they would.
And it is just funny too, because it's like people don't have a concept, I guess, of like this is like a job and we're here for like 8 hours a day, and like we're not on motorcycles 8 hours a day every day. Like we do other things. And
we spend so little time riding actually for like video. I mean, I ride personally all the time, but like to make Yammie Noob videos in a given week, it's like such a small fraction, you know, like it's not that much.
Yeah. And like I ride, you know, we both commute in on the bikes most of the time. And like I now have a pair of work Birkenstocks that I keep here because
it's more comfortable.
And just like, and you know, there's tripods and lights and things. You're wearing boots. You're just like kicking everything around, stomping around. It's a massissive pain in the ass. So obviously we're not actually riding wearing Birkenstocks, but I think it's funny because this is like one time I was like fixing something and I just had to take it around the block, and
the Trans-Up?
Yeah, the Trans-Up, and I was wearing sandals and like the sandal like dragged on the ground like under, because I don't even remember what I was doing. I was literally like turning around like in a cul-de-sac and coming back to my garage. And that bottom of my sandal dragging on the ground was so scary because that could have been my toe.
Yeah.
That, of course, I've never done that again. And then I did rip my toe off working on a bike. My toenail off.
You actually pointed this out to me because I was wearing the Birks in the studio and I was moving a bike around and you're like, ooh, better be careful. Rip my toenail off doing that. I could feel your trauma from that. I agree. Yeah. I also don't love wearing like open-toed footwear around motorcycles in general.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Yeah. Like I guess to this commenter's point, like sure, I did get a bit lazy, but like we also make like a video every goddamn day. Yeah. Sometimes I'm wearing Birkenstocks. Like it's fine.
And I think because this is a similar kind of boomer thing of like, I don't trust you as a presenter or a personality on a screen if you're not dressed a certain way or whatever. Because people like freaking out of my shirts being too big and stuff. It's like, who cares, dude?
We should go for 2 weeks just for fun. Like we should wear suits in every single video and like be clean cut. Like just what happens, you know? Like I just wonder like what happens. Like does the person, because like how you dress does change how people perceive you. That is like a fact for sure. But yeah, I also agree. It's like it's a motorcycle channel. I don't think we need to be super presentable. Like I always just wear a t-shirt that has the logo on it. That's it. Like I've thought about before, I'm like, should I wear like a collared shirt? And I was like, that's so like off-brand, you know? Like why would I do that? But yeah, maybe this person thinks like, oh, if you're on video, it's like TV. And back in the day, people wore like full suits to get on an airplane. And now like, I don't agree with this, but people wear like sweatpants on airplanes because they just want to be comfortable. I get it.
Take their shoes off. I hate that.
That's not okay. And then I've ever seen the clip. It's this guy on a plane. And he's just like, whoever's farting, please stop. Please stop farting on the plane. Airplane behavior's gotten out of control. I have a video of a guy. It was a long international flight. He took off his shoes. He took off his socks. He put his foot up on the like back of the headrest. I was like, bro.
That's crazy.
You cannot be doing that. That's crazy.
He raised in a barn.
Yeah. So anyways, that's what this person thinks of us.
And then the last thing of it, what's next pajamas. There's a certain creator that wears pajamas, Hello Kitty pajamas.
Who is that?
Dancing Moto.
That's right. Who is using an can't say that. Using an OF to get his S1000, right?
I mean,
according
to Matthew Woods, he said that, and you know, seems like a reputable source to me. I get all my information from Matthew Woods, but
I mean, folks, you guys climb me sometimes for all the giveaway bikes, but I mean, at least I'm not, in sweatpants doing what I got to do to make the money, So, yeah. Anyways, on to the questions of the week. So, Logan, this first question is kind of a huge question, and maybe we partition this out into like a full video, which actually could be decent. Maybe we do like categories and we come up with like the best bikes for each of them, and maybe there's overlap. But this person asked my opinion on the best new bikes in each category. Do we want to tackle this like every single category? That's pretty crazy. We don't have to
go necessarily every single category, but maybe just some.
Can we just rapid fire it?
Best new bikes that like we're excited about.
Okay, how about adventure bike, best new bike.
I'm panicking.
Off to a great start.
Because
Just say one.
V-Strom 800.
Okay, Tenere 700. That's mine. Done. Okay, naked bike, middleweight naked bike, best one.
CB 750 Hornet.
Street triple for sure for me, but that's fine. That was your choice.
Yeah.
Super sport.
V4S.
That's super bike, but that's okay.
I'm panicking.
I also agree. I also agree that new Ducati is probably the best one. Sports touring, is that a category?
Sports touring.
I don't know.
H2SX.
There we go. Same for me. And that's all the categories. Boom. We're gonna do a full video on this with much more thought.
Redo it. I can do it better.
Come on, coach. Put me back in. Adventure bike.
I'll stick with the V-Strom. I think it's a good bike.
Wow. Better than your Transalp? Why'd you buy that then? Got him.
Because I think Suzuki's are lame.
That's true.
Honestly, that's pretty much it.
Yeah. But you think Hondas are super dorky, apparently.
That's true. I just don't like anything. Someone said I sound like a miserable person on a comment. Wow. And I'm a fun person. I have a ton of fun. I laugh a lot. My voice
That's not something a fun person would say.
My voice just sounds like this.
That is unfortunate for you.
Super Sport.
We're done with this question.
R9. Okay.
We'll go back.
0 for 5.
Yeah, this I think is one. It's a whole video. Yeah, we'll define the categories and then we're like make our case as to why each bike is best. That actually would be a good video.
I might have a little bit more insight on this next question.
Okay, you go ahead and answer this question.
I can't decide between an Interceptor 650 or an Iron 883 as my first A2 bike. I'm looking for a bike I can modify.
May I recommend a lobotomy?
You can recommend it. Do you know a guy?
Yeah, I mean he's not in business anymore. He used to work at the euthanasia office down the street. I'm just kidding, but yeah, what would you say as your A2 bike?
I mean, I would say if he wants a bike that you can modify and he wants something that has that kind of like retro charm or whatever, I would probably get the Interceptor 650.
It's not what I thought you were gonna say.
I mean, I don't love the Iron 883. I don't like the blacked out cruiser thing just because they all look like that and there's so many of them.
Yeah.
I think an Interceptor 650, if you had the time and patience and budget and you put like a big bore kit on it and like an exhaust, like you can get high quality parts from S&S. I think that would be pretty cool. I think like the bikes they've built for like the different Royal Enfield racing series around the 650s like look pretty sweet. So that's probably what I would do. But the easy option or with like a lot more opportunities for customization, different massive, more aftermarket parts you could ever even imagine, Iron 83 would be like the obvious easy choice.
Yeah.
But even a highly customized Sportster, they all look the same. And like the tank lift, don't get me started. I hate when people do that. I don't know
the little peanut one that's like above the thing
and you can even do it with like every one. But yeah, like on the 48 that has like the really small tank, like the 2.2 liter, and it's like lift. I don't like the tank lift. It looks weird.
It does look strange. Yeah.
But anyway.
I agree with you. I would pick Interceptor 650 simply because I've ridden both bikes and I just think one just rides more like a traditional motorcycle. Yeah. You can do a little bit more with the 650. It still has a lot of charm. It's actually really nice. Like we put an exhaust on the one we were giving away. Mm-hmm. It sounded cool. I was like, and it was easy to do. It was like an hour, just pop out the pipes. But the other one, they have a ton of parts for them. I think they're cool, honestly, and they come in a bunch of different colors. And you can, I don't know. I think they're a cool platform.
And I've seen some. Maybe it's different in Europe, which I don't know where in Europe, obviously, but they say A2. But I know here, like you can find used Royal Enfield 650s for like $3,000.
Yeah.
From like 20.
We did one on the marketplace video where it was like $3,600 and it was mint. I was like, dude, that's a great bike. But, all right, next question. Full Metal Corgi asks, what's a more cringe setup than an S1000RR and an AGV Pista? I don't know if it's cringe, but it's like so overdone, right? Mm-hmm. Like, I mean, these guys are a dime a dozen now. Yeah. S1000RR and AGV Pista, hoodie, gauntlet gloves, like that's like the look now. Right. I can't think of anything more like overdone than that currently. That's got to be like the look right now. Here's a tangential question. I actually wanted to get your opinion on this. Do you think we should do an S1000RR, a brand new one, as a giveaway just because it's like such a zeitgeist thing? Because I honestly would be so bored doing it. I would like hate my life for like 2 months. Mm-hmm. But I'm curious if there is like an allure to these bikes, you know? They're so boring to ride.
Yeah, I don't think it would be effective because you would have to cater all the content to that demographic, which is the young clout guys.
I
Whatever.
think
Like
we
I
would really be so bored.
Yeah, and it's like, what? I'm not working nights, bro. They always shoot at night.
Right? Yeah.
You know what I mean?
There's always that's how I'm like, I'm in bed by 7. Bro.
Yeah, it's like
my day ends at 7.
I'm not staying late to make this like.
We put our baby down and that's it. I'm
Yeah.
just at home drinking wine, and
Yeah.
I'm usually passed out on the couch by 9.
Yeah.
I'm not exciting. I can't even
Drinking
stay
wine,
awake past 10.
moisturized in your zone.
100%.
Yeah.
100% moisturized. So I don't think there's anything more cringe or overdone, to be
But
honest.
can we hypothesize
What would be worse?
what would be worse, or just something that's fun? Like,
I mean, not to sound judgmental, but I really do think that like the 45-year-old guy who like spent an assload of money on all the adventure kit but doesn't
Yeah.
do anything with it. I'm like, yeah, that's pretty lame. Because it's like you're not. At least use the bike for what it was intended for. Like those squids are at least using the bike for what it was intended for, you know? The dude that's just like trying to find a hobby to like slot himself into, I just think it's really cheeseball.
Yeah, dude, when guys in their 40s that like earn well, that have hobbies, are like
So
they're like a
consumery.
threat to humanity. Like dude, depending on like what, dude, that's like how killdozer happened. That guy got a hobby.
Yeah.
And just didn't stop. But anyway,
Because like you see this a lot in most spaces where like, yeah, mid-40s guy who's earning well, doesn't know what to do with his money,
and just buys
the most expensive, like either like camera or motorcycle
guitar
guitar pedal or guitar. It's like you can barely play. You go buy $10,000 Les Paul. You're like, why, dude? Why?
And I guess, and actually, I said they're a threat to humanity. If they stopped this culture, it would actually be more of a threat to our economy, because they probably spend a ton of money.
40-year-old guys, keep buying stuff.
Yeah.
We need you to prop up for the rest of us,
keep
right?
thinking you're gonna become like a fly fishing world champion and spend $5,000 in fly fishing equipment.
Yeah. All right. Kartik Sudan has asked, what are the actually important modifications / accessories motorcyclists should get? We've made this video at least 5 times now, right? At least. And
it's too hard to search the back catalog.
It's way too hard. Let's just do maybe 2 each that we think. For me, tank bag. 100% tank bag or tail bag. That's got to be one of my top accessories. I mean, it just makes life so much better.
Yeah, as far as like quality of life stuff, phone mount. Like I don't mount my phone every time I ride, if I'm just riding around town, but when you need it, it comes in like massively clutch. Like before I had one, like having to pull over to the gas station to look at your phone for directions is like a massive like waste of your time. Like you're like, why am I doing this to myself? I should just get the phone case and the handlebar mount.
Phone handlebar mount. But yeah, I also don't use it all the time. I use it if I need directions, but yeah, like I don't pop it in all the time. I do use it a lot for my commute back home, just because if I'm listening to like a podcast that sucks or like music that I don't want to listen to, I don't want to like pull over and change it, or like my Siri on my Cardo doesn't work all the time. So it's nice to just like tap and then to like skip or tap or change or whatever.
Yeah.
I would say that. And then honestly, my second one, this is kind of a cop out, but he did say modifications. Good tires. Like everybody overlooks this like all the time. They're always like trying to get like tail tidies or exhaust. I'm like, a really good set of tires is like the number one thing you should do. Like Pilot Road 6s, just call it a day. If you're riding primarily on road, Pilot Road 6, don't get anything else. Just Michelin didn't pay me to say it. It's just like, it's going to last like 10,000 miles. It has great grip characteristics, works great in the wet. Mousetrap. Done. Yeah.
Because I was going to say tail tidy. Because
I'm so much smarter than you. I'm just kidding.
Because I'm
that's a good one though.
Vain and they look stupid. Like the factory plastic
Most of them look pretty silly. Yeah.
And it's one of those things that's clearly not supposed to be there. Like it's just there for not supposed to be there in terms of the original intention of the design, right? Like if the creators wanted the motorcycle fender to cover the entire back of the tire, like it would be built that way.
There's a foreskin joke in there somewhere, but I can't quite suss it out.
TLC Tugger. You ever watch that show?
No, I did not.
How to with John Wilson?
No. But I think the rear fender, it serves to not get the rain and the soot and the crap like on your back,
for sure.
right? So like it does have a purpose. It just looks stupid.
Yeah, and because it's like a DOT thing. Like your license plate has to be like the furthest back part of the vehicle or something too.
Right, something like that.
And because my Transalp is pretty unmodified, but I couldn't stand to look at that thing, so
nice.
I ripped it off.
I think my Touareg still has the original one. I think it looks okay. I don't
Yeah.
think I'm too offended by it. If I remember.
Yeah, I think it does look fine because
Yeah.
I haven't been offended by it.
I never, yeah, because like, I don't remember ever looking at it and be like, oh, I gotta change that. You know,
Yeah.
I was like, that's fine.
Yeah, some bikes are definitely better than others. But
I think my Touareg's bone stock. I don't think I've done anything. No, I put the quick shifter on.
oh, okay,
Yeah, I did
but that's
do that.
was like a factory accessory.
Yeah, it's like
right?
a factory. It's like I brought it in for service, and then I was like, can you just like throw that on there? I've been like such a like a maintenance queen about my Touareg. Like I haven't done like anything on it myself. I did the
Like,
first service.
Oh, okay,
But then, like, to install the quick shifter, I was like, you just do it.
yeah,
I was like, I don't feel like doing that. And I think people will clown me, but I'm like, I think after a certain point with bikes, you're like, I just don't want to do certain things anymore.
yeah.
You know, like, for example, like on my Scrambler, I could have done the belts and the Desmos, and I looked into it and I had the manual, and I was like, I just don't feel like it. Like,
Right.
I don't want to do it.
yeah, and it's hot.
Well, we have the AC here in the shop.
I forget. I haven't done anything here.
Yeah, I would just bring the bike
Sorry,
here. And
I
do
forgot
it.
where it was.
And at my old house, which I'm gonna get at the new place too, I converted the garage to have like a mini split. So once I've had AC working on my bikes, I can't go back.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
cannot be in a hot garage.
Yeah, because that's all I think about from living in North Carolina for the last 3 years. In my garage is just like it's so hot.
Yeah.
I figured it out where I was getting my I was hitting my oil service change intervals, whatever, at like March or like April, and it was like perfect.
That's good.
But now since moving and everything's all fricked up, but I can do them downstairs.
Yeah.
and they see that'd be cool.
It's a lot nicer. Yeah.
I'll get attacked by hornets. That would seem to always happen too.
Next question. Chris Coglio asked a R7 or an R9 for an intermediate rider.
Vague.
It is vague. The intermediate moniker for motorcyclists is very vague, both in the track day world and like road world. It's like that's a very broad spectrum, you know? What do you think about the intermediate rider? Is that someone who's on their second bike, or is it third? I don't know.
Yeah, I'd say you're at least becoming an intermediate rider. A couple seasons.
At least 2 years, I would say,
ready
you know?
to move on to like something that's not a beginner bike,
Yeah.
a 400, 500 cc bike. But then you could stay an intermediate rider for a long time. Like I would consider myself an intermediate rider. I'm not a bold-faced liar like some people that like to just say I'm awesome at riding because I can afford a fast bike. It doesn't work that way.
That felt very targeted towards me.
I was targeting towards.
It felt like very passive aggressive, like relation.
No, I was just talking about like kind of
Some people. No, I totally agree though. Yeah.
Instagram people.
Yeah. Just because you can buy something doesn't mean you should.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I think depending on what stage of their intermediate career would change the answer. I would just say, based on my gut reaction, I would say R9 because the R7 doesn't make a ton of power and it's expensive to insure. And that seems like it's just a massive L. You know what I mean?
The R9 will set you back at least $5,000 more on the purchase price, right? Like R7 you can probably get for about 10 out the door.
Yeah.
The R9 that we have, just full disclosure, I paid about 15 for it, so it is quite a bit more.
And not that that's going to be cheap to insure either, but I think you're going to get a lot more out of it.
It's a
for what you
lot
pay
more
for.
bike. Yeah, like not just from the motor, it's way more torque, way more character and power, but like it's got
Cruise control,
to like a full. The R7 I think is going to get a big update in the next couple of years. It has to, because the new MT-07 has the TFT and like the new gauge clusters or the handlebar clusters. It's got to get updated, but I still think it's like sort of beginner plus. You know, like you could get one and be happy enough with it, but the R9 you'll be happy for a longer time with it for sure. Yeah. Like you could have that bike and keep it for like 3 years and be totally happy.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I feel like the R7 could just end up feeling like a lateral move for someone, and what it would cost to buy and insure just doesn't feel worth it.
Yeah, I mean, unless you're coming from like if you have like a 250 or like a dual sport or like a 125, even if you're like, overseas, an R7 is going to be a big jump. People are like, wow, this is like a big boy bike. But the R9 legitimately feels, it's as big as like a super bike. It's a very large, substantial bike. So if that's what you're looking for, I would recommend that one. All right, so last question here. Speed Freak 92 Yammie, you should talk about Toprak going to MotoGP. Logan, I'm going to go on a limb here and say you have no idea about Toprak or his move to MotoGP.
I have no concept. I mean, I know of him. I know he's from, like, he won on the BMW in like 2024 or something.
Okay, so you know something. That's
so
good.
I know he's like supposed to be kind of one of the best or the best in World Superbike.
Yeah.
But beyond that, I know nothing. So
I'll clue you in. I'll do you a quick one. So this is a big deal because Toprak going to MotoGP has been this like will he, won't he for like 5 years now.
Mm-hmm.
He has a ton of front end feel on the bike. He's super talented. He's always been at the front of World Superbike. My hot take on this is Superbike is a very different caliber than MotoGP.
Mm-hmm.
We have evidence that shows this because in the last like 15 years, there's been several World Superbike champions that have come to MotoGP and not done a whole lot. You know, like they maybe won a race like Ben Spies. He was, in my opinion, the last like real deal talent to show up. Because he showed up in Superbike and won on his rookie year. I mean, that's unthinkable, right?
Yeah.
Like, he didn't know the tires. He didn't know the tracks. He was setting pole positions and winning races like absolute Chad. Like, Ben Spies is awesome. So he then went to MotoGP like within a year or two after that, but then didn't do anything in MotoGP. So it's like, well, okay, like if a guy that good couldn't do it. I think Toprak is super talented. He's got a lot of charisma. And he's going to do a lot for the sport in terms of his fan base. He has like a rabid Turkish fan base. Like they're insane for him, right? And I guarantee you they're going to go on this video and be like, you're a moron. I hate you. You should die. Like they are very vitriolically like, you know, Toprak supporters. And I think that's great. So we're going to get a lot more eyeballs in MotoGP, which I love. I would be very surprised if Toprak even podiums in MotoGP, let alone wins a race. The tires are super different. The bikes are super different. I don't know, but I think it's great for the sport in general. That's kind of my take.
Who is he riding for?
He's riding for Yamaha. So he's going to go to a satellite Yamaha squad, which is, it's factory supported, so it should be fine. The crazy thing is, though, he's coming in 2026, which is right before the bikes are going to massively change.
Right.
In 27, they're going to 850 cc's. They're going to Pirelli tires. There's no more ride height devices. The whole thing is going to change. And my hot take on this, too, is like, at that point, the real cream is going to rise to the crop, and Marc Marquez is probably just going to win again, you know, because he's the most talented guy and he's so ridiculously good. I don't know. I would love if Toprak does really well. I'm going to be very surprised if he does.
Yeah.
That's my take on it.
Is there going to be a new king of Superbike then? Like, is that like leaving a big void?
That's actually a really good point. That Superbike's draw is now kind of like, why watch Superbike, you know? Because right now, Superbike's kind of like all these MotoGP ex-riders and rejects and like kind of this, you know, it definitely feels like a second-tier championship because it is. And then without Toprak, it's kind of like, why watch it, you know? So I think there definitely is going to be a very big hole to fill there. But there's a guy called Nicolo Bulliga who's also from the MotoGP paddock and world. He was in Valentino Rossi's like ranch program or whatever, the VR46 squad. He's doing super well. He goes toe-to-toe with Toprak every weekend right now. So I guess next year he's just going to win by like 10 seconds every race, which is going to make it super boring. But yeah, that's my take on Toprak going to GP.
Because when we did the video, there's kind of like the MotoGP for Dummies kind of breakdown, and then the World Superbike for Dummies
That one did
breakdown.
better than the MotoGP
Yeah,
video,
and
actually.
a lot of the comments on the GP one, they obviously didn't know we were making the Superbike video like the next week.
Yeah.
Or they were like, GP sucks, make a video about World Superbike. World Superbike's the most exciting motorcycle racing happening right now, blah, 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 blah. So.
Yeah, but it's only... a large part is because of Toprak and his riding style.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've ever seen the videos of him, like, you know, he's basically pulling a stoppie into like the corner at the apex. I mean, it's unbelievable to see. You're like, how is this dude even doing that?
Yeah.
You know, like,
does he do it on drum brakes? Can he do it on drum brakes?
Good way to tie it all back around. I bet you he could.
Yeah.
I bet you he could. Funny story about him, actually, is his dad was a stunt rider.
Oh, that's cool.
And Toprak grew up as a stunt guy, too.
Yeah.
Apparently in Turkey, his dad was known as Mr. Wheelie.
Sweet.
So he has like pedigree.
Yeah.
So he's really good at stunt riding.
It's crazy too if you're like a local legend pre-internet.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, he was like,
just, like
OG.
known, like making like DV cam like
right.
mixtapes of like stunt
like
riding,
distributing them from the
Yeah.
trunk of your car or whatever, you know? Yeah, that was hard back in the day. So, boys, that's going to wrap up today's podcast. Hope you enjoyed. Hope you liked it. Remember, as a reminder, head over to yammie.co and become a member, support the show, get entered for our giveaway bikes, and just support everything we're doing here. We appreciate you watching. Thanks for checking it out. Catch you in the next one. See you later. You've made it to the end of another Yammie Noob video. Aren't you just a special little cookie? Aren't you just something so great? Aren't you just, look at you, you're just so freaking cute. Why don't you go ahead and click on the next video? Why don't you go ahead, listen, hey, I'm just kidding around. Hey, listen to me. Click on the video.